Hey there, I'm Coach Pete Cafarcio, and this is Dynamic Destiny. Hey there, Coach Pete here, and hey, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today. I just watched the first presidential debate, and but I only watched a little bit of it because, like a lot of you, I tuned it out pretty quickly. It was just so contentious. And the night before, I had just watched a new documentary out on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. If you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend that you do. Um, the Social Dilemma talks about how social media and really the tech platforms behind it are leading to the country being so divided. And then the next night, I watched the presidential debates, and I was like, "Gee, is this causing the division, or is it a symptom of the division and how things are getting so polarized?" Hey, these are massive societal shifts. They're very negative. And they can be really overwhelming and discouraging because you can't control it. It's like, what's going on, man? And everything's happening so fast too, and it looks like the train's going off the tracks here. And add into that the pandemic. And boy, if you live on the West Coast, maybe you're dealing with fires or hurricanes in other places in the country. Is the economy going to recover? I live here in New York City. It's a real time of unrest. It can make for really scary times. And on this episode, hey, I just want to empower you with one practical principle. It's not going to solve everything in your life, but it can help. When you can't control what's going on around you, you can control your heart and your mind. When you can't control what's going on around you, you can control your heart and your mind, or your attitude. And there's a proverb, I love this one. It says, "Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life." And that's actually from the Bible, Proverbs 4:23. "Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flow the springs of life." So look, when we talk about when we use the word heart, we're talking about your attitude, how you process things, and how do you engage with the world around you. That how is more important than the facts that you see and you hear. Facts are the what, but your attitude is the how. Like, two people can hear the exact same facts, but depending on their heart attitudes that are different, they're going to process those facts in a different way, and they're going to come to different conclusions. Those conclusions lead to different emotional states and overall well-being. Okay, so you can see how your attitude, your heart, is the foundation for your well-being in life, and that's why you have to guard it. It's really important. Most of what you're hearing about or get hammered with all day long through the media and at work and social media, all that are facts. Okay, and they're actually pre-digested by people with certain worldviews. But you don't have to buy into that, okay? And it's not, if you can stop paying attention to the facts so much and pay more attention to your state and your attitude, things are going to go a whole lot better for you. All right, let me give you an example. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Say if you drive. If you don't drive, somebody nudged you out of the way getting onto the subway. Okay, that's a fact. But your attitude determines your reaction. So you could get all worked up. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that jerk. They just cut me off. Don't they care? They must think they're better than everyone else, and how rude, and they did that on purpose, and look at the car that they drive," all these other things. You can go real negative very quickly on that. It can just trigger you. Or you could have a different attitude. You could say, "Wow, that person cut me off. I bet they didn't see me." Or, "They must be having a hard day." Or, "They look really stressed." Or, "You know what? I bet I've cut other people off inadvertently too. I should be more careful about the way I drive." Okay, do you see how the second one completely changes the narrative? The facts didn't change, but my attitude is what changed things. That's a real simple example, okay, but it's just something I think most of us can relate to. But the same thing now applies with what's going on in the country right now, okay? The facts are facts. They're getting spun certain ways, and actually it's even getting hard to tell what's a fact and what isn't. But that's not the point. The point is, watch your attitude, guard your heart, and guard your mind. Okay. Now, the best way to do that is to act in the opposite spirit. That's a phrase that we use, and it works real well. I'm going to say that again. The best antidote that you have to all the negativity is act in the opposite spirit. Okay, it's not about countering the argument. It's about countering the spirit that these things are coming from. And when I say a spirit, same thing as heart. It's like an attitude. So if somebody's giving you information, but it's packaged in a wrong attitude or a negative attitude or something that's dragging you down, don't worry about the facts. Worry about that attitude, or identify that attitude and flip it and act in the opposite attitude. For instance, if it's judgmental, if it's divisive, if it's arrogant, if it's fearful or anxious, if it's hopeless, okay? These are all things for you to identify. How does that make you feel? What's the attitude that this is coming from? Look at that instead of the facts. Okay, most of that, and then your job, once you see that attitude or that spirit, is to respond the opposite. Okay, same way that the person, imagine a person who cut me off in traffic. Okay, if they're stressed out and tense, I flipped and I did a different attitude. Like, oh wow, I feel bad for them. I don't have to be that way. I don't have to get worked up about this. Okay, and the same thing now with the things in the going on in the country. Somebody's being judgmental. Oh my gosh, you can't believe they did this. Oh wow, look at I just some immorality was just exposed in a politician's life. Like, you know what? There, but for the grace of God go I. And guess what? Even with the grace of God, there go I sometimes. I don't have to judge that person, and I don't have to disqualify them based on one minor fault. Okay, or I could say, oh my gosh, that's really difficult to be in public display for everything to be examined all the time. That must be hard. Okay, see, I didn't judge him. I responded. And did I deny the facts? No, I just changed the attitude. Okay, how about hopelessness? Now, this happens in the news media all the time. They will always, always, always paint a worst case scenario, and that leads to hopelessness. You have to be careful. So I can watch those facts and say, wow, that really is amazing or spectacular or tragic, but it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. We can pull together. We find solutions over and over and over again, even with the pandemic. Okay, when you act in the opposite spirit, most of the time, that means you don't even respond. Now, if this is one-on-one type of thing, or maybe on social media, or you're in a discussion, or maybe you're getting together, we have the holidays are going to be coming up. When you see someone dishing up the facts in a bad attitude or a bad spirit, don't take the bait. And it just means you don't even say anything. Like, oh, okay, you feel strongly about that, and don't even enter the discussion. And they'll be like, what? Don't you want to talk about? I'm like, nope, I'm just glad to be with you. I just want to spend time with you. Okay. Now on social media, okay, don't argue back on social media. Now, most people won't argue back on social media, but you will get a reaction. You'll read something and say, oh my gosh, why did they say that? And I want to write this. You think you should type it now, but if I type it, everybody's going to think I'm argumentative too, and then we talk ourselves down. We don't post it. Probably a good idea to not post, but the reaction that you got when you read their post, that's the thing to watch. Okay, because it's still in your heart, and we're talking about guarding your heart for your own mental well-being. Okay, because that's where life springs out of. So we got to be careful. So if you see yourself getting upset, even though you're not posting, still make a choice to counter that. Like, hey, I'm not going to get combative over this. People have their right to their own opinions. There's more to this issue that they're seeing. They're probably being weaponized by the propaganda machines or their news sources. Also another thing you could tell yourself, and this is a fact, the people who post the most about politics on social media know the least about the issues. This has been demonstrated. Write to me, and I will give you the quote or the study that sources that. It's been demonstrated. Okay, anybody who thinks all these things are totally black and white and really simple, and my guy or gal is 100% right, and whoever disagrees with me is 100% wrong. I mean, that says more about you than it does the issues. I mean, that's just very, very juvenile thinking. Okay, So there are 5 weeks left until the election. So I want to give you a few more practical tips to help you through this. First of all, we are all being played. We're being played. We're being manipulated. These are propaganda machines. Accept it. Okay. And so just don't be naive. All right. Everybody's got an angle on these things. Everybody's spinning the facts one way or the other. You're being played. Even if you agree with your candidate's positions, you're still being played. They're telling you only the best things, and they know what's going to resonate with your issues. And the story they're telling you about the opposition is not true. I mean, or it's not the whole picture. Okay. You're being played. You've got to know that. Okay. Just realize this is a fight for the hearts and minds of people, but it's being spun all the time. Second, narratives are invented first, then the evidence is found to confirm those. All right. So someone's going to develop a position about a candidate or about an issue. They're going to get the position first, then they're going to go find some video or some person, yelling at a town hall meeting, or two people talking on the street and getting in a fight over something, and one of them's wearing a certain T-shirt. Then they're going to find the evidence and say, "See, I told you this is the way it is." It's not. That's not life. Okay, so just be aware of the spin that's happening. Third, your views make sense for you, and that's probably why you're aligning with certain campaign or political position. And I'm not denying that, but they don't make sense for everyone. Not everyone is in the same socioeconomic situation you're in. Not everyone's from the same racial background you're in. Not everyone lives in, rural versus suburban versus urban. Really flavor the way you tend to look at life. Okay, so your views might make 100% sense for you. Yes, this is exactly right. When he says this or she says this, is exactly makes sense to me. But in somebody else's shoes, it doesn't make sense, or it doesn't fit what they need to hear or the things that they care about in life. Okay, so there's a lot of different backgrounds, and that flavors the way people see things. And here's my final thing: like, stop thinking either or. Okay, it's got to be this way or that way. And by the way, the media and the candidates and all the campaigning want you to think that way, but it's usually not true. Start thinking both and. We have a lot of polarized issues right now, and there's oftentimes truth in both sides of the camp, and maybe there's even more than two sides. Okay, just trying to get you ready. We got 5 weeks left on the campaign before we go to election. Then who knows how long it's going to take to play out. Hopefully it'll be quick. So this is not easy, but it's important. Okay, take courage. We're going to get through this. Guard your heart with all diligence, because from it flow the springs of life, and act in an opposite spirit. Pay attention to the attitude and the spirit more than the facts, and then choose a good attitude for your own sake. All right, this has been Coach Pete. God bless you. I wish you the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you, my friend, for joining me on this episode of Dynamic Destiny. As a reminder, you can get more free tools and downloads at petecoaching.com. Let's continue the discussion. Write to me with your questions and feedback. Ask Pete at petecoaching.com. Be sure to tell your friends, and please leave a 5-star podcast review. I can't wait to have you join me next time on Dynamic Destiny.